Last fall, I took delivery of an Akai AX80. When it arrived, it was a little sick, so I cleaned it up and recapped the power supply, and now it is better than ever. If you read about this instrument online, you'll see people say things like, "Beauty is only skin deep," and it's a handsome but extremely boring synthesizer. I disagree. I think if you push this thing to its outer limits, you can get incredible and magical results. It can go places other synthesizers can't even touch. Where I do agree with the reviews is that it is gorgeous. Look at this thing. I think it looks better than the DX7, which came out the same year. I think it looks better than the JX8P. The profile, the triangular, meaty profile that it has, the display is super clear. These vacuum fluorescent displays are gorgeous to look at. And at a glance, you can see where every parameter of the instrument is set. So you can kind of tell how it's going to sound, and it's very easy to edit with them. So what's not to like? Well, pull up preset number 1, which I think is supposed to be a piano, and you'll get your first clue. Here's preset 5, which I think is supposed to be a music box or a celeste. And here's preset 13, a bassoon maybe? You decide. So on paper, this thing is incredible. It's a 2DCO synth with a sub per voice, 8 voices, which again, 1984 is impressive, 4 LFOs, a 24 dB per octave filter. It's a Curtis filter, a CEM 3372, which I think was used in the Chroma Polaris, and a high pass filter as well. I mean, across modulation, this thing should be incredible. So what went wrong? Well, I think there was some pretty specific errors in engineering that led to it sounding underwhelming, at least when it's sitting in the middle of the road. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the presets and start editing them, and I'm going to push it to its limits, and I think we'll find some incredible surprises. Every sound you'll hear is from the AX80. I've added a splash of reverb from a very not fancy Roland DEP3, which is a vintage 80s budget reverb. So nothing fancy going on there. Let's listen. And right away, you'll hear some distortion there. That's coming from inside the synth. Because I think one of the engineering issues was gain staging. It's terribly done in this synthesizer. It's so easy to edit a sound where there's no sound coming out, or you're just distorting the signal path inside the synthesizer. And there's more to that in a minute, I'll explain. But the way that they sort of dealt with it is they just stuck a VCA level control at the end of the parameter list. Not necessarily the best solution, but it does stop the distortion. You know, these are some pretty basic 80 sounds, but what I'm going to do next is start to work with the filter. The filter is out of control. People will call it brutal, and it is. The resonance on this thing is really bizarre. And yet that's, I think, one of the areas where you can push it to some magic. So let's see. I just want to remind you that there are no effects except for that tiny splash of reverb on this thing. This is what's coming out of the instrument. And I've only heard the Jupiter 6 come close to this kind of aleatoric pad sort of thing. As I mentioned, the gain staging inside this thing is a mess, so you have to be very careful if you want a clean sound. It's fantastically easy to get an overdriven, distorted sound, a harmonically saturated sound, but it's hard to get it clean. You have to really watch it because you move that filter a little bit, it will completely change what's happening in the rest of the signal path. Absolutely gorgeous, just majestic. And this is one area where it really excels in these haunting, shadowy pads with strange artifacts present. It's a strange feeling of a digital type of analog or some kind of digital, I don't know, it's a strange hybrid sound to me. And here we hear the filter. This little flute sound. Adjusting the decay on the VCF envelope. Absolutely gorgeous. Straight from the 80s. And there the filter gets a little thin, but I actually think that would really help in a mix. With just a touch of resonance, that silky filter. Beautiful. Here I'm going to adjust that VCA output just to give it a little more saturation there at the end of the chain. Add some of that brutal resonance and you get some dirty sounds. All three oscillators per voice. And this sound starts out as a pretty standard reso pluck kind of thing. The envelopes are pretty snappy, and the resonance, of course, will turn it into a percussion machine. Now here I'm going to use the chord memory function. Such a gorgeous digital PPG sound almost. But what sounds like samples is coming out of an analog instrument from 1984. Just total analog mayhem. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe, and until next time, be well.